You're listening to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge.
Hello and welcome to eLearnChat, our new podcast featuring prominent leaders, shakers and movers in the e-learning and training industry.
Good morning, everyone. This is, or wherever you are, good day. This is eLearnChat, episode, I think it's 48. Hi, I'm Rick Zanotti, and joining us today for the first time as a real co-host. She was a guest co-host about 2-3 weeks ago, and here she is. This is Coline Sunley. Hey, Coline, how are you?
Hey, Rick, how are you? Hey, everyone in the chat room.
I'm doing really well. Now, Coleen's got a little bit of a flu, so she's here anyway. She's a trooper. So hopefully she lasts the show. If she mutes herself, she's coughing. Don't worry about it. Hey, Coline, we've got a good guest today. A good friend
awesome.
and guest. You just met her, but I've known Connie, I guess, for almost a year now.
Yeah.
And finally got to meet her live in person, the real thing, at ASTD Tech Knowledge several months ago. And here she is. It's Connie Malamed. Hey, Connie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing great.
Good.
So how was your ASTD TK experience?
Other than being in Las Vegas, I loved it. It was a great conference, and I was happy to be there. Hope to go again.
Yeah, we were all talking about the same thing. Anything but Vegas, right?
Apparently, some people like it, although I haven't met too many who do.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think just the fares, the rates are good. That's probably the main reason. But the smoke is just a killer. Well, I think part of that's the Rio. It's very smoky there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it was a good
I think
conference.
that's it.
Really good. You know, one thing I really liked about the conference, that I felt that the sessions were very forward-thinking. The people who chose the sessions, I know some of them, it wasn't just the same old stuff. You know, they chose sessions that will bring us as a field into the future, and I like that.
What sessions in particular did you notice that seemed a little bit more like that?
I thought anything that had to do with social was like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought some of the technologies, talking about some of the newer technologies. I think that was it. It just seemed like it wasn't the same old.
The energy was good there, I think. It seemed like good energy.
Good.
People were interested. Even the booth space in the expo area was pretty busy. People were walking around and actually looking to buy something maybe. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Well, today we're going to be talking a little bit about mobile learning. You're now doing some mobile learning and mobile projects, and what better thing to do? And mobile is interesting. I think mobile phones are kind of a pain sometimes, but the tablets are definitely a good way to go for mobile. What do you think?
Personally, I don't have a tablet yet. Now I'm waiting for 3, and I'm going to get one. I'm not a big one for buying first version of things, but I do think the tablets are better, but they're not as ubiquitous, and that could be a problem. In other words, to prepare a workforce for mobile, how many companies are going to buy their people tablets?
Yeah, probably.
That's the only concern.
It's probably only the ones that really need it, the ones that have a real mobile workforce. We talk a lot about mobile, but the reality is unless you have a mobile workforce, people don't need mobile as far as companies go, or even government. Anybody who needs training, are they really going to invest money in buying you tablets if you don't need it? Probably not.
Probably not. But it is interesting when you look at the research because, first of all, most people, even people who are, can't afford it, have a smartphone or at least a phone that can access the internet. And over time, and it might have happened already, more people are accessing the internet or will be through their phones than will be through PCs. So some people are just going right to phone and don't have PCs or a laptop. And that's certainly true in certain countries around the world, particularly those in Africa. So I think we have to face the fact that we might have to need to create learning on phones. But one interesting thing is that performance support is different than micro learning.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of research on this because I'm giving a presentation at Learning Solutions on mobile, and I like to call mobile learning, micro learning, because really people use phones in short bursts of activity, so they're really only going to use it for, you can really only provide maybe 5-10 minutes at a time. How long is someone just going to sit there and stare at their phone?
It depends.
Depends how bored they are.
We've had people sit at a computer for 90 minutes waiting for something to happen if we didn't actually prompt them to hit a next button. It's really true.
That's true. It really does depend. But on the other hand, when you use it for performance support, then you've got a whole different, it's a whole different ball of wax. Are you familiar with Bob Mosher's and Conrad Gottfredson's 5 Moments of Need?
No.
Well, I was hoping to have a slide available to show everyone, but if not, it really explains when performance support is good. They have 5 moments of need, and they say the 5 moments of learning need occur, and I'm going to read this. When you're learning for the first time, that's one, and when you're wanting to learn more. And those are good for, formal training oftentimes. But there are 3 times when performance support is great. When trying to remember or apply something. And that's really true because, our brains aren't set up to remember everything, right? So when trying to remember or apply, that's when performance support is good. When things change, so you just need a quick tip on how something has changed. And the 5th one in their model is when something goes wrong. You have a problem to solve, a decision to make, and that's another time when performance support is good because performance support generally helps a person when they're in the midst of a task, when they're at work.
That's right, and go, how do I do this? Right.
And you can even be at your desk, and it can, and you can quickly look something up on your phone, and you can get the answer. So there's a lot more opportunity for performance support, I think, than for formal type learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But it's interesting because if you think of phones, the screens are small, though they are getting bigger. We saw the latest Samsung Note the other day.
Yeah.
That's a 5.5-inch screen.
I hate the big phone.
It's a big phone. And I was thinking, for guys, I guess you could carry it either in it'd be hard to put in your pocket. That won't fit in anybody's pocket. Either shirt pocket, pant pocket, jeans. It just won't fit. It's big. 5.5. So it's almost like a mini tablet. It's like a mini tablet.
Interesting.
Beautiful phone. It's running Android, I think, 2.3. But I don't know. It's big.
I think what you're saying is that men are going to have to start carrying merces.
Maybe.
Mail purses.
Maybe. I remember when I lived overseas, everybody had them because you had to carry your documents with you. So,
right.
And we don't here, but give it time. But when you have to carry more documents, you just need someplace to put them, and you don't always have a briefcase with you, and you don't want to carry a briefcase.
Right.
So that's pretty common. You go to Europe, everybody's got them.
The MERS.
The MERS, yeah.
Yeah. I think we just need to start making some more masculine ones.
Yeah. You don't like the pink MERS? I don't know, but.
I don't mind it. I just don't think most men would like it. But anyway, with performance support, you're filling in a task. You're using the phone at the moment of need, and I saw an amazing video on YouTube, which I might show at the presentation. A surgeon was in under-resourced country, and there weren't many medical facilities, and he came upon a young man, I think it was actually a boy, who needed a very serious surgery. Otherwise, he would be dead in a few days. And the man got support from a surgeon that he knew how to do the operation through text.
Through text. Interesting.
Through text. So he actually did an entire surgical procedure, a real operation, through text support. And I thought that is the ultimate in performance support. And it worked.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to be the guy being operated on in that particular case, but
it was that.
Yeah,
or
we're trying something new.
Days.
It's either text messages or you're dead. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was just amazing. What about Colin? Go ahead. Coline, I was wondering if you have seen any examples of performance support on phones.
Let's see. Just my own my own use
Yeah.
of it, and I spend quite a bit of my time. You were talking earlier about tablet versus the phone. In my particular instance, I tend to use my phone, even though I have an iPad too as well. I tend to use my phone more often than the iPad because it's just so much easier for me to handle. And I haven't gotten to that age as yet where eyesight is quite an issue.
I'll wait till you
So,
get there.
so I tend to use my phone more, and it's just so much easier to handle. I know that there are a lot of folks out there who attend training sessions, and the facilitators are still up in arms about, allowing participants to use their phones. And I saw a tweet not too long ago from Trisha Ranson that said, if you ask me a question, I will go out there and look for the answer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So there are a lot of people out there who see the the phone or their tablet as a tool during training, during facilitated sessions. And I think that as facilitators who present face to face or instructor led, we have to be conscious of that and incorporate that into our learning as well.
Well, it's funny. It's both. It could be a tool, and it's also a major distraction. It's both. Because they're not always learning from it. They're just tweeting or screwing around or whatever. There's that too. It's both.
Yeah, I kind of disagree. I think it's more of again, in my opinion, it's more of a tool. You go out there, you look for the answer if there's a question or something that supports what's being discussed in the session. Or, there are times when during the conference there's a back channel taking place. There are people who do the tweets and the texts, but I think people more and more now are seeing it as a tool versus a distraction.
I mean, I think that if someone, I was having this discussion with someone the other day too. Personally, I agree with you, Coline. I think that, well, first of all, I think that if somebody wants to spend their time tweeting or looking something up, then that's their business.
Especially adults, sure.
Adults, right. And sure, I understand the thing with the kids. That's a whole other topic. And in a way, it's a way of sharing and collaborating. I love it when people tweet something I said, because to me it means that it was meaningful to them. Mm-hmm. And from a cognitive psych perspective, it's true they might miss something else that you just said, but by typing it out, I think it actually gets, it's another way to get something into long-term memory. So it's, and personally, if I'm presenting or instructing, I do try to kind of go slow because people need time to process information. They can only hold about 4 or 5 bits of information in working memory at one time. So to take, if they take a little time to tweet it out to everyone, I think that's great. I think the presenters should have 2 screens. One that shows their slides and the other that shows the tweets that are going around, and then they can answer questions too.
But I bet you if we did that, we would have less tweeting because people would be a little inhibited.
That's true. Well, you just wouldn't use the hashtag then.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great tool for kinesthetic learners, people who need to write or they need to connect with something in order to learn. Because, we learn by either hearing, seeing, or, touching and feeling. And so it's a great opportunity now for those kinesthetic learners to embrace learning more than just sitting there and listening to, boring lecture or someone talking, a talking head.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't think mine are boring, but, maybe some people do. Speaking of touch, that's really interesting and kinesthetic. That makes a great topic of discussion that we could move to in terms of mobile, because the gestural user interface is really, what's the word? It's a seismic change.
It is, and it's very cool. It's amazing what you can do with just your fingers now.
Yes, and by taking away that intermediary device, the input device, I use a pen and tablet at home, or the single click of the mouse. By taking that away, we're doing something different to our psychology, where now people can literally interact with objects. And the user interface is actually, the touch interfaces on phones and tablets replicate or mimic what happened, the physics of the real world, of the physical world. So when you drag quickly, things move along quickly. When you drag slowly, the opposite happens. When you swipe, it happens just as though it would in the world. And that is amazing. It opens up amazing opportunities to us in terms of learning, because now we can have learners manipulate objects on the screen as they, with their fingers. That does something completely different to our psychology. I just think it's fascinating and a really exciting opportunity for learning and development professionals.
There's a new app that just came out on the iPhone. I don't think it's on Android yet, but it's called Clear, Clear, Clear for iPhone. It's a task management app. All it does is it's basically a to-do list kind of app, but it is 100% shorter. When you're typing in the description, it's all touch-based. You swipe, you expand, you contract. And it is really, they're saying it's really revolutionary in the way they approach this. It's really different from other apps I've seen, where you don't have to worry about calendars, right? You just basically move things around with your fingers and just type a description. Other than that, it's all done with fingers. And it's a real interesting approach. Very simple way to create tasks and just modify and move around, drag them up and down. It's cool. Now, there are some efforts, and there have been HP, Apple to a certain point, have had touchscreen interfaces for their bigger machines, aside from just... I had one of the original HP Touch Smarts. I actually didn't like it. I turned it back in. My finger was starting to get burned. It was so hot.
Wow.
That was first generation, and I didn't like it. I could literally feel my finger burning. And so I said, okay, maybe in the future. And it didn't work with everything in Windows. Windows 8 is coming out sometime probably this year. It is 100% touch-based if you want it to be. So if you have a touch screen, now you can really do everything touch in front of you. I'm not so sure in the big screen that makes a lot of sense, but they're taking a lot of the principles from the tablets and moving them into the big screen. So
well, your arm and hand are in a different position, though. So I'm wondering how that, if your arm gets tired.
I would imagine. Actually, I remember when I played with that touch smart. I had it for about 2 weeks. My arm didn't get tired, but my fingers got sore. That's what I found interesting. The screens are hot.
That's amazing.
And that was pre-LED. So now if they did it with an LED, I bet you it wouldn't be that bad, because the LEDs are nowhere as hot as the LCDs. But, yeah.
I was reading an interesting design article, with someone criticizing Apple's approach to metaphors on in their apps and also in the Mac software. And I just find that interesting, because touchscreens replicate the real world. You have this opportunity to use metaphors, although you have to use them all the way through. So, for example, something can be a flip book, and then you flip the page with your finger, just as though you would a book.
Right.
But this person who was criticizing that approach, number one, felt that too much of the screen was often being taken up to carry out the metaphor, so that the Chrome was actually like a book interface or a calendar interface, like a calendar that would be hanging on the wall, and that it was too much, and that it was actually using up valuable screen real estate, and that it was actually stopping innovation, because people were just always using metaphors from the physical world. And the reason this person said that they were doing it is because Apple realized that people have a nostalgic feeling when they see a physical object replicated, and they sell better when they are a metaphor that people are familiar with.
Look how often we say the word dial. Let me dial you up. We don't dial anymore. It's been years.
Right.
What is it, 20, 30 years since we've dialed anything?
Right. I love those phones.
Yep.
But Clear sounds, from what you're saying, Clear sounds like it might be an innovative approach. And they mentioned that Flipboard, which I haven't tried yet, and I plan to, is also an innovative approach, that it kind of flips around the center in a way that none of the other apps do. Have either of you seen Flipboard?
I have.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I love it.
You do. So would you say that that is a pretty innovative approach?
Yeah, I like it. It keeps that whole look and feel of flipping around, but of course it's on your, your tablet or your phone or whatever. So I like that flip feeling. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you use it for?
Flipboard, I use it to read articles. I think what it does is it's sort of
It's an
an
aggregator,
interface
right?
for, what's that, Rick?
It's an aggregator.
Yeah, an aggregator for,
Okay.
I think, like your tweets. So
Okay.
it puts it
Somehow I was
all,
under the impression that you
into
could also
this.
possibly create some kind of access to information through it, that you could create your own boards. Is that true?
Yeah, it's got a great interface, and
Okay.
it has a magazine effect, like a magazine type look and feel to it. So instead of just having like a list of your tweet articles or whatever, it's got a magazine effect, and it's all sorted into categories. So you can have architecture or news or whatever the different topics are, and you can read based on the different topics.
Yeah, another one like that is Zite, Zite. Zite's
Yeah.
really good. I think Zite's probably a little nicer. I don't know.
Okay.
It depends on the person, but they're both really, really attractive interfaces. And what's nice is you have control over the content to a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
that
like
sounds
I
good.
like both. I actually have both, and I just kind of flip back and forth between them. I read both of them. I actually like the Flipboard more for some reason. I don't know. I just like the layout of it, the look and feel of it. I see Jeff in the chat room saying that he likes Zite interface better.
Zite looks a little, it's more polished.
Yeah, he says you
Interesting.
don't have to flip as much with the Zite.
Okay. I have to. I just need some time to download them and start using them. Well, one thing that people might find interesting is just the development process, just the design process that you have to go through when you're designing an app, or for our field, a performance support app, because although, it is a lot. I mean, people have the skills from their skills designing for online learning and e-learning, but it is really different when you're thinking of the small screen and how people use phones, because they really just use phones in short bursts of activity. People use phones, with one hand, with their thumb. People make errors. People with large hands make errors frequently.
Now, Connie, I see the phone for and performance support as really small videos versus really applications, because the videos can be very small. They're fairly easy to read if you zoom in on them. Maybe an easier way than having to develop in actually an authoring tool. But what do you think?
I think videos are definitely one good solution. I have one that I downloaded from a company called JIT. I think it's Just in Time, or Just in Time Training, just because I've been trying to find, as much mobile learning as I can. And they have short little video interviews of how to do, short little videos of how to do interviews. And I could imagine if someone is about to give an interview or even go to an interview, clicking on that quickly, looking at the video, and then going, okay, I forgot, ask this type of question, right, and then going. So I think it's good for that. But there are also a lot of other kinds. My app, Instructional Design Guru, is all text, and it's defines 460 or something, I think it's 473 terms that are related to our field. And I was inspired by knowing quite a few instructional designers who are new or who aren't very technical. So maybe they're at a meeting and people are talking about, well, we're going to need MP4 or video, and we're going to need or audio, and we're going to need a ping file, and people might not know what that is, so they can quickly, pull out their app and look it up. I use it myself just to look up something like Bloom's taxonomy if I'm writing a design document and I need some, something from there. So I think text-based is also good because, you can pinch open the text. Yes, it took me 4 months to figure that out, but you can pinch open the text. So graphics might be suitable. I think it really depends on what you're trying to, the type of performance support you're giving. For example, if someone needs help with making a decision, perhaps a flowchart would be best. Some kind of decision diagram would be best. So I think it depends.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised how little people use flowcharts, at least interactive flowcharts. We have the ability to put a flowchart on there and then make all of those hotspots and do things with them. And it's not used that often, but it's a great way to get a process across to someone so they can figure it out a little more easily and maybe zoom into that process. That'd be kind of cool.
I think it would be very cool, and I really thought about putting more pictures. I don't have any pictures in my app, and I think there are two things. One is the screen is so small that a flowchart might be better on the iPad. And secondly, you're always thinking about room because my app is native. And just in case people aren't aware of it, you can make an app that resides on the web. You can make an app that resides on the phone. That's called native. And there are these hybrid apps that essentially are built like web apps, but then you can put them in a wrapper. A phone gap is one of the tools that you can use. You can put them in a wrapper and then get them onto the phone like a native app. So when you're working with a native app, you're thinking about, that you don't want to take up too much room on the person's phone. So that was something I was taking into consideration.
Yeah, and phone real estate is tight. So
it is tight.
I mean, tablets are like mini screens. You do get a lot of real estate on them, and it's not too bad as long as the people don't go too small on fonts. Mm-hmm. But on the phone, you are more limited. And I thought your app worked really well. It does what it's supposed to do.
It's not flashy, but it does what it's supposed to do. It defines terms. And it took a long time to figure out because at first I was dead against the idea of I had these 470 terms. Well, I mean, I went crazy finding, with the terms with so many, but I really didn't want to have categories of terms because certain terms can fit into two different categories. But in the end, I changed my mind and I redesigned it a bit, and I ended up using categories because it's just too many terms for someone to just, scroll through. I mean, you can scroll through it, but there's also the index on the right-hand side, which I was glad to find out about. I really studied, what features and functionality does an iPhone have, and that index really helps. A lot of times people don't even notice it. It's just this skinny little line of, of the alphabet.
And it's funny, if you're out in public or in the sun, you may not even see that little line. But then when you get used to it, approximately, I know this is a trick a lot of people do, and I've done this many times. I don't know exactly, I can't see the letter too well because let's say I'm outside. So I hit approximately a third of the screen, a half of the screen, and I know I'm close. So I need a D. That's going to be around the top quadrant.
Totally.
And it works really well.
Well, that's going to happen anyway because the letters are so close together that when your thumb, which is it's often the thumb, it might be the index finger, touches that area of the screen, you're going to get a general sense of the letters, and then you just have to flip through it a little bit, scroll up or down.
Which would be hard if you're doing some sort of dictionary application where you have thousands and thousands of.
That's true.
You're just going to get a lot of scroll, and that's one of the negatives of something like an iPhone, where you have a smaller screen. The larger the amount of data, the more challenge you're going to have to get that finite piece of data they may be looking for, because now all of a sudden the A through Z is going to hit a lot more. Let's say you put a Webster's dictionary on there and you hit somewhere between C, D, and E. You're going to get a lot of C, D, and E's.
Yeah, I think you would not use that approach.
No.
I think you would use something at the top of the screen, perhaps, that has, where the letters are, I think it's 44 pixels, 44 pixels apart, each button. You would really have it you'd have to come up with some other interface. Right. There probably is a dictionary. It'd be interesting to stop and look.
There are. I haven't really downloaded any, but I know they're there.
I bought quite a few reference apps to learn about making a reference app. And I have one on typography and some of the medical, some of the things that I'm interested in, and I just sit and read them. If I'm sitting in the dentist office or, in the waiting room or something, I just sit and actually read my reference apps because it is another way to learn, and I find them interesting. So
Sure. And you can hit them randomly, too, and get all sorts of good stuff out of them.
right. So it's just kind of interesting. One thing a lot of people might not realize, if you're making an app, you really have to go through an intense design process. The first thing you have to do, once you come up with your idea and you have some kind of strategy to show that it will really work, one of the main things you have to do, and we don't do this much in the in instruction design, is come up with use case scenarios where you're coming up with ideas of where people, as you're trying to see if your idea is feasible, you're trying to figure out where people might need to use this. So you come up with different use cases to see, well, I think people might use this at a meeting. I think people might use this in the hallway when they're discussing something. I think people might use this at their desk because it's more convenient than looking something up on the internet. And because, the source is good. And you really have to come up with scenarios. And we don't have to do that. We're not used to doing that. That's more of a software kind of paradigm, software development and software design paradigm than an e-learning paradigm. So there are a few things that e-learning people need to learn about when if they want to do something that's like a performance support app.
That's true.
And also, then you have to come up with design the data flow diagram. You have to show the entire flow. And we used to do that in the old days of online learning because there was so much branching. Mm-hmm. But now that people are doing so much rapid, it's very linear, and you don't have to come up with these flow diagrams. But you do need that for an app. And the final thing, because I'm going to be talking about this in my presentation, is wireframes. If anyone does web design, you're used to doing wireframes, but otherwise you might not realize that you need to come up with a wireframe, which is kind of like a skeleton, just showing where the layout will be. It's very...
Connie, did you download any of the wireframe programs for the iPhone or the iPad? There's a couple mock-up and things like that, which let you really mock up your whole application before you ever design it, or before you ever actually code it. They're pretty cool.
I didn't, because I wanted to design. I have an iMac with a nice big huge screen, so of course I wanted to design on that. But I did use one. It's called Balsamiq, Balsamiq, and I think it cost that one, and it cost about $80, I think, and you can get freebies too.
Yeah.
But that one had an iPhone screen on it.
Okay.
So I used that, and there are also sketch pads for the iPhone, and probably I don't see why you couldn't use that for an Android device either.
You could. Some of them come with the built-in controls so that they look more like the iPhone controls. There are some cross-platform development tools. One you might be interested in is called Runtime Revolution.
I don't know that one.
And do you remember HyperCard?
Yes.
It has very much of a HyperCard feel, or even back in the old days, TwoBook. It kind of which kind of came out of HyperCard, so it looks like that, or SuperCard, one of those. They're a company out of England, Runtime Revolution, Runrev, RUNREV, and they have a cross-platform development tool which allows you to develop for Android, for iPhone, and some other platforms. So it's a pretty good platform for getting that kind of stuff out there, and easily. It's a very English-like language, so it's not hard to learn. And they've got training and a lot of videos, and they on their website they show how you can create an application, literally an app, in about 7 minutes. It's pretty cool.
Now, do they reside on the web or on the phone? Do they end up being native?
No, these are native.
Wow.
These are native apps for both iPhone and Android.
So it must read the screen size for Android before displaying.
Probably.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or you might have to compile them separately. They may be separate compiles. So I think you use the same code, but you do two different compiles, one for iPhone, one for Android. And I think the results, it looks good.
That's interesting.
It's clean. And it's about $1,000 investment for the whole development environment, but you get a lot of power for that.
I've been surprised at how many mobile learning authoring tools there are now. I think I counted, I was gathering them all up. I think I counted 7.
7 already. Which ones? Do you know?
Okay, let me see if I can remember. Too bad I don't have it in front of me. I probably can get it. One is Lectora.
Mm-hmm.
One is...
You can do some stuff in Captivate mobile.
Okay, I didn't count that. You can do some... Raptivity has an HTML5
Right, we have that one.
output. Rapid Intake has mLearning Studio.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to open up my my presentation and see. Can anyone think of any others?
I think Storyline is going to have an HTML5 version when it comes out.
And will you be able to make it small enough for
I believe so. I think they're going towards mobile phones and pads. Haven't seen it. I haven't seen how it works, but they were talking about that.
Okay. Trying to think what else. I'm not really good at remembering the names. I'll just have to open up my presentation and see. Because I was gathering them all up to help as a resource for people.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the near future we're going to see even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hopeful because, there was a dearth of them not too long ago.
Right.
So
Right.
It's pretty hopeful. It looks like people are really getting together, pulling it together to develop for HTML5. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else I have here. Hang on one second. Oh, well, everything's running slow.
Of course, in the future, we won't really need any apps at all. You just talk to Siri. Siri, I need to learn how to fly a plane. No problem, sir. I'm here for you.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
I don't know. Text and heart surgery or surgery?
Now, it wasn't heart surgery. It was, I think it had to do with a limb that was partially removed, if that's any better. So anyway, well, I just wanted to say if we forgot anyone's authoring tool, sorry about that. I know people are sensitive about that. But my computer's running slowly while I'm doing that. Oh, here we go. Adobe Edge.
Edge, right. I think that's in the labs, though, still, right?
I believe so. Hot Lava Mobile, and I can't believe I forgot that. I interviewed someone from that company on the eLearning Coach on my website. Lectora, mLearning Studio. Now Pastiche, that's interesting, from Xyleme Learning. That's for the iPad. There's Sum Total Toolbook.
Right, because they would do it too. That's kind of like that Run Rev thing.
Okay. There's Mobile 21, MOMBL 21. And Upside to Go from Upside Learning, I think. Okay. That's what I've gathered so far.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be more in the next year or so as these things become more prolific. And again, the HTML5 standard, while good, is still not standardized.
And it's not as good as Flash.
No, but they won, sort of.
They did, and I just
feel like... That was Steve Jobs' parting jab to Adobe. Kill Flash.
I thought that it was quite insensitive to the whole world of learning professionals and the students and learners who use thousands, and there are probably hundreds of thousands of courses out there in Flash.
I know.
I just felt like it was a slap in the face.
It was, but on the other hand, Flash on devices did really consume all your battery up. There were some major issues with Flash. And the newer, and even Adobe themselves just basically said after Flash 11, we're done. We're not going to do any more for the mobile platforms, which is sort of interesting, which kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen to Flash, period. A lot of people use it, but it's going to be interesting. I like Flash. Flash is pretty cool. It's kind of a multiple personality disorder type product because you've got the programming side of it, which is totally different from the really graphic design, motion graphics element part of it. And those two don't meet very well too often.
No, that's true. It's the rare technical artist that can really do well with Flash.
And you remember in the late 90s, everything was a really cool Flash website? And you don't find very many Flash websites at all anymore.
Well, they're very bad for search.
Right.
So.
That's another thing. Yeah.
People just got tired of waiting for it to load.
Well, Connie, we are just about heading out of time. as always, you're always fun to have on.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
And I do apologize because this morning I could not get remotely into our Exchange server, so I didn't get your email with all the graphics you had. So
No problem.
I always hate when that happens. Of all days, I can get into email all the time. This morning, nothing.
Right.
So I think one of the
good luck with your system.
Yeah, I think one of the services went down, which is not atypical. Last night was Tuesday night. Oh, I wonder if one of the servers rebooted, which they shouldn't. Anyway, Coline, hope you feel better.
I hope you feel better too, Coline.
Thank you. I hope I feel better too.
She was unusually quiet today.
I don't blame her. I would have canceled myself.
She's chatty usually.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey guys, in the chat room, thanks a lot for being there, and we will see you guys all next week on eLearnChat. Bye, Connie. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you.
By the way,
Take
before we
care.
leave, Connie, you're going to be at Learning Solutions?
Yeah, I'm teaching a visual design course, full-day workshop, pre-conference workshop, and then I've got a presentation about mobile and another one about learning technology.
And if you haven't met Connie, you should.
Thanks, Rick. Take care. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye, Coline.
Thank you, Connie.
We'll see you guys next week.
Take care. Bye.
See
Take
ya.
care.